It's another episode of Retouch with me. This time around, I'm going to be retouching an image that is very, very dynamic. The image is completely underexposed. This happened in one of my workshops while I was shooting. The flash didn't just trigger. I don't know what happened. It didn't just come on. So because I knew I was using a camera that had a very good dynamic range, I didn't even bother myself, right? So the picture you can see it's very underexposed, but we are going to give it life. It's your favorite educator, Idon Isudusan, aka Dedin, London-based fashion and portrait photographer. Before I start, I just want to let you know that this tutorial right here is sponsored by Camera Joint, who is a one-stop shop for all sales of camera and film equipment, whatever you might want: drone lenses, camera bodies, tripods, lights, video lights, still lights, whatever you might want to, you can order from Camera Joint, and it ships it 24 hours worldwide. The image is being opened in Adobe Photoshop 2024. This was shot outdoor. The image is completely underexposed. That's because I exposed for the background, and then what I realized is that my trigger did not pop my flash. In case you want to know, this was shot with ISO 100. The f number was 2 and it's shot with a 135mm lens. My shutter speed was 1/8000 seconds. First thing I do, I go to my basic panel. I look at the image. You can see that we need to deal with the exposure. So I'm going to bump up the exposure. Mind you, this might not be applicable with all cameras. This was shot with the Sony A7 Mark III. I'm sure you guys know that camera very well. It has a very good dynamic range, so I can lift my exposure a little bit all the way up gradually. And if I push it too much, you can see that my highlights are beginning to get washed out. So I'm just going to take it down a little bit. Okay, right. So I think I like it the way it is. I want to open up my shadows right now, and then I just pull up the shadows and give it a bit of lift. You can see how balanced the image is already looking like in terms of exposure. If I take this to before and after, and if I have to zoom this, you can see there's no noise at all. That's because of the dynamic range that camera has. So the next thing I would want to do here is to, I'm going to pull back my blacks a little bit, you know, and look at colors in terms of the general image. What colors do I not like and what colors do I think is distracting to the eye? So I go to my color mixer, and this blue thing right here is what I don't like. I would probably desaturate it a little bit more, you know, because I want my focus to be on the subject. And then I'm going to pop orange, which is the skin. See, that's the skin of the subject. I can also go to luminance and lift the skin a little bit. Look at that. So I lift that a little bit, and I can go to curve, my tonal curve, and then just overall, and also watching the highlight and making sure it doesn't clip. Yeah, so I think that is fine. The last thing I'm going to do to make the subject pop more is to go to my effects and add a bit of vignette to it. There you go. So you can see now this is the before and this is the after. Before and after. I'm going to open it up right now in Photoshop, and basically I would want to lift the face a little bit, so I put in my tonal curve again, lift it that way, Command I, that would invert it, and take my brush and reveal, you know, that part. You can see now that that part is now properly like exposed, and the background is well balanced with the subject. So the next thing I would want to do now is to add a bit of color to it. like I always tell you guys, so I have the color lookup. I'm just going to pick this one, right? And that gives me exactly that filmic look that I want. In terms of color, I would want the skin to be very rich. So I'm going to go to hue and saturation and pick the pointer and click the skin and just increase the saturation slightly, a little bit there. And there we go. I can merge all this together, and quick one is to get to the remove tool, right? So we go to the remove tool and take out anything that you don't want in the frame. You can leave it if you like it. If you don't like it, you can remove it, but I'm just going to try to remove that which I do not like there. Let's see how Photoshop would be able to take that out, and it takes it out perfectly. Trust me, the new Photoshop is something that you need to, get, because it will give you exactly what you want. So that's what the image looks like. To make it a little bit filmic, I could add a bit of grain to it. So I go to camera raw, and I'm just going to add a bit of grain to it. I like to zoom to see how the effect of the grain is like, and if I push it, you see what happens. So I just take it to that point where it is less visible. It is there, but it's not there. So if I take it back, the grains are there, but you can't see it. It just has this thing to make the image look a bit filmic, right? And I can press OK. You can see that the image is completely done at this point. I do not want to stretch anything. This is an image that we would have lost because it was completely unexposed, but we can get it back by retouching and getting it right by pushing or stretching the shadows and also pushing the exposure. Stick to this channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I'm going to be doing more and more retouching, showing you again all my techniques, and feel free to ask any questions in the comment section.